In this image, Adolf Hitler is seen wearing traditional lederhosen, typical trousers of the Tyrolean and Bavarian regions at the time. The scene, captured in 1927, shows the Führer with a stiff and unmasculine posture, contrasting with the authoritarian figure he sought to project. Known for his egocentrism, he apparently spent considerable time rehearsing poses for photos, reflecting his obsession with controlling even his public image. Ivan Unger of the Flying Black Gnats and Gladys Roy are seen boldly playing tennis on the wings of an airplane in flight in 1925 over Los Angeles. Quite insane, isn't it? This scene, as daring as it was risky, was part of the aerial acrobatics of the era, where the quest for adrenaline and entertainment went beyond the limits of safety. Long before drones dominated the skies, pigeons equipped with cameras revolutionized aerial photography. This curious invention was the work of the Germans, who trained the birds to photograph landscapes and targets during wartime. With a timer triggering the shutter, images were captured in surprising detail, providing an ingenious solution to a challenge we now solve with advanced technology. In this image, a circus artist wearing only a swimsuit shares a cramped glass wagon with live crocodiles. The performance took place in Berlin in the year 1933 as part of a spectacle designed to astonish and attract crowds. Daring performances like this were common at the time, exploiting both fear and fascination with wild animals while drawing audiences to circus attractions. This image captured a surprising side of Las Vegas in 1955, when it was still just an arid stretch of desert, far from the glitz and glamour that would make it world famous. A simple sign advertising a plot of land for $3 million contrasts with the surrounding emptiness. It is incredible to think how, within a few decades, this desolate landscape would transform into the vibrant and iconic hub of casinos we know today. In this image, we see Dr. Hines injecting fluids from a live hair into a patient, believing that combined with ultraviolet radiation and gymnastics, they could bring instant rejuvenation. In 1925 Berlin, bizarre methods like this were highly valued in the pursuit of youth, combining experimental science and surreal practices in the name of aesthetics and vanity. This image shows an elegant woman using a coin-operated perfume dispenser, a symbol of 1950s innovation and glamour. These devices allowed anyone, for just a few coins, to access popular fragrances of the time such as Taboo and Chanel. It might sound strange, but this machine dispensed lit cigarettes for just 1 cent. Considered revolutionary at the time, it offered maximum convenience to smokers, who left with a cigarette ready to use. Today, the idea seems as absurd as it is dangerous, but it highlights the creativity and lack of safety concerns of past times. In this image, a supposed telepath attempts to hypnotize a chimpanzee in the year 1941. The man focuses intently, believing he is hypnotizing the animal, while the chimpanzee appears completely unfazed. Whether the trick succeeded is doubtful, but given the monkey's disinterest, perhaps a bunch of bananas would have been a more effective and attractive strategy. In this curious image, inventor Hugo Gernsback showcases his innovative television glasses, designed to offer a portable entertainment experience. Photographed for Life magazine in 1963, the device, though humorous by today's standards, embodied the quest for technological advancements during an era of innovation. It was an ambitious glimpse into what the future of media consumption might become. This historical image captures Laika, the first living creature to travel into space, resting inside the Soviet Sputnik 2 spacecraft. Launched on November 3, 1957 from Kazakhstan, Laika became a scientific milestone, but also raised ethical concerns about using animals in space experiments. Her mission, though brief, represented a crucial step in the space race between the Soviet Union and the United States. This photo shows Enos the chimpanzee resting in his specially designed seat before boarding NASA's Mercury Atlas V capsule. On November 29, 1961, he made history as the first primate to orbit Earth in a flight that marked significant progress in the space program. In this curious and slightly intimidating image, a 106-year-old woman firmly grips a rifle in front of her home in the village of Daeg, Armenia, in 1990. With her serious gaze and resolute posture, she seems ready to defend what is hers, challenging any preconceived notions about frailty in old age. In this image, Welsh spiritualist Colin Evans performs a supposed levitation in London in 1939. Known for his shows at seances, he used complete darkness and an infrared camera to capture these eerie moments. The technique created a macabre atmosphere that reinforced his followers' belief, even the most skeptical, in his paranormal abilities. This photograph is quite impressive as it shows an elephant taking on the role of cargo operator, loading supplies onto an American airplane in 1945. After all, who needs forklifts, right? This photo captures German soldiers posing next to a horse adapted to carry a Russian Maxim M1910 machine gun. The ingenious structure included a wheeled mount and an ammunition box, transforming the animal into a crucial piece for battlefield mobility. This is James Naismith, known as the inventor of basketball, posing in this photo holding a ball and one of the first baskets used in the game. Originally created as a recreational activity in 1891, the sport evolved from these simple peach baskets to become a global phenomenon. While this image comes from a time long past, its relevance is undeniable. In this photo, the disassembled face of the Statue of Liberty lay unpacked in New York shortly after being shipped from France on June 17, 1885. This moment symbolized the beginning of a historic partnership between nations and the assembly of one of the world's greatest icons of freedom, now representing the United States. In this unusual scene from 1922, a beach patrol officer near Washington, D.C., measures the length of a woman's swimsuit to ensure it complies with the strict standards of the era. The proximity of the swimsuit to the knee was subject to regulation, reflecting the moralistic norms of the time. Today, such a situation would seem utterly absurd and even comical. In this curious image, President Lyndon B. Johnson drives his amphicar on April 10, 1965. This peculiar amphibious vehicle made in Germany could navigate both land and water, an impressive innovation for the time. Johnson, known for his sense of humor, loved surprising guests by simulating emergencies as he drove the car into lakes. This image captures the moment U.S. Army men are casually seated around a table as a horse, ridden by a soldier, leaps over them. The most curious part is the apparent calm of those present, as if oblivious to the unexpected and somewhat embarrassing moment. This striking photo captured the exact moment of a horse's leap as a fascinated crowd watched one of the most eccentric spectacles of the early 20th century. Taken in Pueblo, Colorado on July 4, 1905, the act involved mounted horses diving from towers up to 60 feet tall into pools below. Despite its popularity, the show was eventually banned following intense criticism over the risks and mistreatment of animals. How far can human ingenuity or absurdity go? This photograph from 1912 shows a prototype test for an American football helmet. The brilliant methodology involved slamming one's head against a wall, as this was apparently the most scientific way to ensure its effectiveness. At first glance, this image appears peculiar, showing Maryland inventor George Stern demonstrating his innovative creation, a highly volatile fluid that, upon rapid evaporation, prevented surface ignition. Demonstrated on November 10, 1938, Stern envisioned its curious application as a tool for creating spooky effects in horror films, a genuinely inventive idea. Believe it or not, this in the photo is a portable sauna from the 1940s. The device, known as the Reduc-O-Matic, promised to melt fat while the user relaxed. The inflatable suit was connected to a heat generator and sold as a revolutionary weight loss solution. You might be surprised, but these were the gym and slimming machines of the 1940s. Leg rollers massaged legs with springs and rollers, while the Slendo machine enveloped the body in intense vibrations. Promising to sculpt the physique effortlessly, these exotic devices reflected the creativity and exaggeration of an era when technology was seen as the magic solution to achieving the ideal body. In this photo, the winners of the bizarre Miss Perfect Posture contest in 1956 proudly display their trophies and their X-rays. Part of a chiropractic convention, the evaluation went beyond perfect smiles. Participants stood on scales, aiming for the mythical 50-50 balance between their feet. Nothing like rewarding perfect posture with an X-ray in true 1950s style. This man is seen trying what would become an early version of pedal-powered roller skates, an ingenious attempt to combine the functionality of bicycles with skates. Captured in 1910, this invention showcased the creative spirit of the time, although it never managed to gain widespread popularity. In this image, a wing walker tests the limits of courage by balancing on one leg on the right wing of a Curtiss Flying Jenny biplane, soaring through the skies of New Jersey in 1920. This spectacle, both daring and breathtaking, was part of the thrilling aerial performances of the time, where pilots and acrobats risked their lives to captivate audiences. The iconic wing walker Lillian Boyer is seen in this photo from 1922, pushing adrenaline to its limits by hanging precariously with just one hand on the wing of a biplane. Her daring stunts not only mesmerized audiences, but also secured her place in the history of aerial acrobatics. In this image, two women practiced target shooting together in an improvised space at Roosevelt Island Prison in New York in 1932. Wearing white coats, they trained with pistols aimed at silhouettes and circular targets. This unusual photograph draws attention for taking place in a prison setting, likely involving female guards. This iconic image captured a blind World War I veteran on his wedding day in 1921, dressed in uniform and wearing dark glasses alongside his bride and her companion. At that time, it was common for soldiers to return with severe injuries, reflecting the horrors faced on the battlefield. This fascinating image captures French neurologist Duchenne in a pioneering experiment in the 1850s. Using electrical probes, he stimulated facial muscles to create specific expressions, exploring the connections between emotion and physiology. Despite its scientific intent, the scene exudes a disturbing atmosphere, akin to a horror movie. Few stories in medicine are as fascinating as that of Harriet Cole, a janitor who chose to donate her body to science. After her death in 1888, Dr. Rufus B. Weaver undertook something unprecedented. He removed and preserved Harriet's entire nervous system, a task that required 6 months of meticulous work. The result became this photograph, serving as a unique teaching tool admired by generations of medical students. This photo recorded the final moments leading up to the shooting of Billy, the elephant of the Los Angeles Zoo, in 1939. At the time, elderly elephants were seen as unstable and uncontrollable, and zoo teams almost always opted for this extreme measure to ensure the safety of visitors. Freddie McIntosh, an 8-year-old boy, wears a full-body protective suit covering his entire face. Captured in the mid-20th century, the image revealed Freddie's constant battle against a rare condition that made his skin extremely sensitive to daylight. Despite being an old image, this photo was included in the video for its humorous context. It depicts Jack, the baboon, who worked for the South African railway system for 9 years in the late 19th century. Impressively, he never made a single mistake in his duties during all his years of employment. This photo captures a bizarre picnic held at the California Alligator Farm in Los Angeles, where visitors freely mingled among live alligators. Taken between 1907 and 1953, the photograph blends the mundane with the dangerous. Events like this offered entertainment as unusual as it was reckless, attracting curious onlookers willing to dine just inches away from sharp-toothed reptiles capable of ending their lives. Truly bizarre. This chaotic and historic image, captured in Stockholm, Sweden, shows cars and pedestrians mixing in total disorder. On September 3, 1967, the entire country implemented a switch in driving from the left to the right-hand side. Known as H-Day, the event turned the streets into a scene of widespread confusion. In this curious 1939 image, two women in Montreal try on plastic helmets designed to endure heavy snowstorms. With a peculiar shape resembling giant cones, the invention aimed to protect the face and eyes from extreme cold and biting winds. In this eerie image by today's standards, hundreds of children dressed as Mickey Mouse fill a theater in Ocean Park, California, circa 1930, during a Mickey Mouse Club meeting. The uniformity of the masks and the frozen smiles created a surreal and slightly sinister atmosphere, turning the moment into a nightmare-worthy scene that marked the early power of pop culture. A Ferris wheel in Cannon City, Colorado became the setting for a disturbing scene in 1926 after members of the Ku Klux Klan, dressed in their traditional robes, paraded through the city and even rode the rides. At the event owner's request, they posed for this photo, turning a moment of leisure into an unsettling record that quickly made local headlines across multiple U.S. cities. In this peculiar image, a woman with a disconcerting smile holds a candle while facing the carefully stacked skulls in the macabre catacombs of Paris. Taken in 1935, the photo highlights the strange contrast between the visitor's carefree expression and the somber ossuary, which houses millions of human remains. This location has always attracted curious individuals seeking an experience both fascinating and unsettling. In this curious image from 1957, Alfred Hitchcock, the renowned British director known as the Master of Suspense, shares the table with Leo, the iconic MGM lion. Known for his peculiar humor, Hitchcock appears calm alongside the beast that starred in the opening of countless classic films. Would you dare sit down to dine with such an imposing guest? In this peculiar image from World War II, we see British military equipment camouflaged as elephants during operations in India. The unusual strategy aimed to confuse potential enemies and integrate the machines into the local environment. The tactic, although curious and comical, exemplifies the creativity employed in war, where even vehicles were transformed to deceive and surprise. This photo reveals a surreal scene, a woman testing a gas-proof baby carriage in Hextable, England in 1938, during the tense days leading up to World War II. Created in response to the fear of chemical attacks, the strange device symbolized the desperate creativity of the era. In this iconic image, a Red Cross dog wears a gas mask, a bizarre snapshot of war. The photograph shows that during World War I in 1917, even animals required protection from chemical attacks ravaging the trenches, a chilling scene that symbolized the extremes humanity reached during wartime. This image shows soldiers of the British Royal Artillery in 1915, demonstrating a remarkable connection with their pack horses, performing daring tricks while lying on them. More than just transportation, these animals were indispensable allies, bearing the weight of weapons and supplies while enduring the horrors of war alongside the men. This photo shows members of the Young Pioneers, a Soviet government youth group, wearing gas masks during a preparedness drill in Leningrad in 1937. The image, with its orderly rows and hidden faces, conveyed an unsettling atmosphere while reflecting the tense climate of the era when such drills were part of daily life amid the fear of chemical attacks. Johnny Eck, known for his incredible talent and charisma, poses for a promotional photo for the film Freaks from 1932. Born without a lower torso, he turned his condition into a standout feature in the world of entertainment, captivating audiences with his engaging persona. He was often referred to as a performer who defied all expectations of a limited life to achieve spectacular success. In this photo, we see an impressive diving suit from the past, also known as the Iron Man. Photographed in New York in 1907, it already featured electrical systems and protection against extreme pressure, designed to enable deep-sea exploration. This revolutionary suit marked a bold step toward the unknown underwater world of the time. Here, Hungarian engineer Stefan Nailed is seen next to his curious invention, a machine he claimed could make people and objects invisible. The photo, captured in 1935, exemplifies the era's fascination with extravagant ideas and bold scientific promises, even without proof. Despite the lack of results, his creation intrigued and sparked speculation for many years after its invention. The Michelin Hour Band brought a new experience to radio audiences, with musicians grotesquely dressed in costumes resembling the brand's famous mascot. Created in 1928 by the tire manufacturer, the program blended music and advertising in a captivating way, and this unusual combination charmed listeners, becoming a milestone of creativity in the era's radio entertainment. This peculiar diving suit, created by Frenchman Pierre-Rémy Debove in 1715, is both an innovation and a technological oddity of the time. With hoses supplying and evacuating exhaled air, the suit enabled significant underwater advancements despite its strange appearance, which seems straight out of a horror movie. With the axe in hand, it might even be a perfect Halloween costume. This photo shows the ridiculous inflatable diving suit. Created in the early 20th century, it aimed to facilitate buoyancy and protect divers at great depths. However, its clumsy design and lack of efficiency turned it into a laughingstock, remembered more for its comical appearance than any functional breakthrough. Astonished onlookers observe Miss Beth Pitt walking her unusual pet through the streets of New York on November 16, 1942. Earlier that same day, she had paid a $2 fine for allowing her peculiar companion to roam freely in Central Park. Marcia Pinkenfield, just 6 months old, is crowned as America's most beautiful baby in an unusual competition held in 1927. The contest reflected the era's fascination with beauty pageants, even for babies, with Marcia becoming a small icon of her generation. This photo captured Princeton University students in 1893 after an apparently innocent snowball fight. Their bruised faces suggest a fistfight rather than a playful snow battle, revealing the intensity with which they enjoyed themselves at the time. This image offers a glimpse into a youth culture of bygone days when even simple games took on a tone of toughness and rivalry. With its rounded design and windows resembling oversized goggles, the P7 Neufeld and Kunk diving suit looks like an attempt to create a minion from the movies. Tested in France in 1926, it was a technological innovation that allowed exploration of previously unreachable depths. In this curious and somewhat comical photograph, children in a schoolyard in 1922 practiced simulated swimming on the ground, without a drop of water in sight. Under the watchful gaze of a stern teacher, the scene reflects the inventive solutions of the time, blending creativity with an unintentionally humorous touch. This image shows 3 cars from the late 1920s parked dangerously close to the edge of the Palouse River Canyon in Washington state, while about 10 people enjoy a picnic as if they were in a safe park and not steps away from a deadly drop. This photo captures a U.S. Army R-5 helicopter lifting approximately 17 people, some precariously hanging from the sides, in a demonstration of strength in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And they say they never understood why men die younger. Perhaps this photo offers a clue. At Neuhammer Military Camp, German soldiers stage a comedic escape aboard an imaginary Zeppelin. The setup shows them hanging from the windows and fuselage, while the caption, "Escape from Neuhammer's Sand Desert," reinforces the humorous tone. The creative scene illustrates how, even amid the rigidity of military life, soldiers used their imagination for fun. At Dornitz Military Camp, the playfulness continues with soldiers traveling to Hanover in a fictional rocket. Captured in the 1930s by Max Schütze, the image shows the same relaxed spirit, with exaggerated and creative poses. In this other photo from the 1940s, American soldiers pose mounted on a wooden donkey, with their feet resting on a box inscribed with the phrase, "To hell with Hitler." The scene combines lightheartedness with defiance, capturing the humorous and rebellious spirit of American troops during World War II. This photo captures an infamous moment during World War II, around 1945. A soldier spraying the interior of an Italian home with a mixture of DDT and kerosene to combat malaria. A child seated on the bed watched the scene with a look mixing surprise and horror, clearly unsettled by the soldier's attire and actions. These images showcase the curious human kites used by soldiers to lift people and supplies in difficult-to-reach areas. Captured during World War I, these devices served as innovative alternatives for observation and transport in combat zones. In this photo, a soldier demonstrates the operation of the human kite, being lifted into the sky by one of the devices designed by Samuel Franklin Cody. This impressive contraption, combining simplicity and functionality, allowed the military to take advantage of aerial space during the era in a cost-effective yet risky manner. Commander Richard Byrd, a renowned U.S. polar explorer, is seen in this image wearing a leather helmet and mask designed for his historic flight over the North Pole in 1926. He traveled 1,360 miles from Spitsbergen to the North Pole and back in a Fokker airplane, completing the journey in just over 15 hours. This pioneering feat cemented Byrd's legacy in aviation and polar exploration. This peculiar photo shows participants in a beautiful legs contest wearing pillowcases over their heads so judges could evaluate only their legs. Held at Palisades Amusement Park, New Jersey in 1951, the event is a curious example of the oddities of the time. Under a viaduct, residents of Boren, Belgium, eagerly await the appearance of the Virgin Mary. In 1933, children from a Christian school claimed to have seen her the day before, quickly spreading the news throughout the city. The event drew crowds who gathered with candles and prayers, transforming the site into a hub of faith and anticipation for another divine sign that was said to recur. Robert Kennedy, along with West Berlin Mayor Willy Brandt, is seen observing the Berlin Wall on February 22, 1962. This wall was a symbol of the Cold War, marking the divide between capitalism and socialism. While the western side thrived, citizens on the eastern side paid dearly under a regime that isolated and controlled its population. The control was so extensive that an East German policeman, a member of the VOPO, stood ready with binoculars, guarding one of the bridges connecting East and West Berlin in 1961. These guards were crucial in attempting to prevent escapes to the west during a time of growing tension and division in Berlin. This photograph captured the moment a refugee desperately ran during an attempt to escape from East Germany to West Berlin on October 16, 1961. This scene showed the world the despair of many who risked everything to seek freedom in the West, defying the physical and ideological barriers imposed by the socialist regime during one of history's tensest periods of conflict. This photo shows Soviet cryptographer Igor Guzenko, photographed in 1945, hiding his face during an interview with Sol Pet of the Associated Press. After defecting from the Soviet embassy in Ottawa, he fled to the West, carrying over 100 confidential documents about the Soviet espionage network in Canada. His revelation led to the arrest of 29 spies and earned him a significant reward, a mansion, and political asylum, marking one of the first major events of the Cold War. An airplane flies through the Arc de Triomphe in a daring and precise feat. Piloted by Charles Godefroy, the flight, performed in 1919 in Paris, navigated the tight dimensions of the monument, which measured 95 feet in height and 46 feet in width, while the aircraft had an impressive 29-foot wingspan. The act was a tribute to the aviators of World War I, highlighting their courage and skill on the battlefield. In this photo, an armored car patrols the streets of Vienna in 1934. As Austria's paramilitary Heimwehr force prepares for immediate action. With the city on high alert, these armored vehicles became symbols of vigilance and control, ready to respond to any signs of unrest in Vienna's tense streets. This photo shows patients waiting in line while others perform exercises on these structures under the supervision of an instructor at the hospital. Captured on February 14, 1956, at the Sint Willibrordus Psychiatric Hospital in the Netherlands, the scene revealed a common therapeutic approach of the time, where physical activity was seen as one of the few tools to improve the mental and physical well-being of psychotic patients in an effort to humanize their treatment.